Namaste and welcome to Yogic Healing. I apologize for not being very consistent with uploading videos on this channel, but hopefully we will try and make up for some of that over the next few weeks. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting subject, which is Kundalini and the opening of the Heart Chakra. Why specifically the Heart Chakra? Because therein lies the key. And we will try and understand that over the next few minutes in this video. In Tantra, there are three distinct concepts which are non-Vedic, which go beyond the Vedantic teachings. And the three principles are Ichcha, which means will or desire. Second is called Jnana, which means knowledge or wisdom. And the third is called Kriya or Laya, which essentially means flow. And we will try and understand these three concepts before we understand about the opening of the Heart Chakra. Visualize that you have a sphere, and the sphere encompasses Mother Earth and goes all the way up to your solar plexus. This is the first sphere, which we call as the duality sphere. This is governed by our desires, being grounded and rooted to the material and the objective world that we live in, with all our insecurities and fears, with our egos and identities and pride. And we are essentially driven by a need to satisfy these desires, to satisfy our ego, and to live superficially within the social constructs and the limitations of our identities. This first sphere is also the sphere which is all about creation. Creation in this material and objective reality that we live in. It is governed by Lord Brahma. This is where energy becomes matter. And that is why when we are in this plane of existence predominantly, which majority of the people are, we are not our conscious and high selves. We are what we would call spiritually unawakened beings. And we live by the needs and the wants of our first three chakras, the root chakra or the Muladhara, the sacral chakra or the Swadhisthana, and our solar plexus, which we call as Manipura. All these three chakras ground us into this material plane of existence. And we live within this scope with all our traumas and our fears and our insecurities and our need for control and satisfying our ego and identity. The second sphere encompasses the heart chakra and our throat chakra. This particular sphere is governed by Lord Vishnu. This is about preservation of everything that is in existence. But this is also a sphere which goes beyond the first sphere. It is somewhere in between the dual state of existence and our higher non-dual state of existence. And honestly, this is the key to our awakening. This is where we experience our first states of consciousness and bliss, an awakened state where we are more aware that we are not just this. And then we have the third sphere, which encompasses our higher chakras, which is our Agnya chakra, and our Sahasrara, which is the crown chakra. And when we reach these states and we are able to put the energy into these higher states and these chakras get opened up, we transcend and go into a non-dual state of experience, often experiencing samadhi, high levels of consciousness. Once more, this is a state of dissolution where matter once more goes back to become energy. So what happens when Kundalini awakens and basically rises to these three spheres? As it rises to the first sphere, we experience the fiery nature of Kundalini energy. What begins is a rewiring process of your entire being, a cleansing, a healing journey where you begin to let go of all your traumas, insecurities, age-old patterns, fear. And as the energy begins to rise to these layers, the bursts of energy that essentially come out will make you angry, will make you lustful with a very high amount of sexual drive. You may even experience intense orgasms. You will let go of your fear, your insecurity, your need for control. You will slowly begin to surrender. And above all, you will slowly and gradually begin to embrace your true and authentic self, no longer being driven by the social constructs and the norms that have been imposed on you, or live within the scope of your ego and identity. Again, that is not your true self. But something magical happens when Kundalini rises further and pierces your heart chakra. The best explanation that I've come across to explain this experience comes from Ramakrishna Paramahansa. He says that when the Kundalini pierces the heart chakra, you experience consciousness as oneness. Everything that is around you, whether it is plants, whether it is animals, whether it is nature itself, you will experience it as one entity, an extension of yourself. you also experience consciousness for the first time as bright, brilliant, divine white light. And if you close your eyes to meditate, oftentimes, right from here above at 45 degrees, where your third eye experience is, you will see a stream of beautiful white light, sometimes whitish blue light, sometimes violet light, streaming down and not only covering every part of you, but also beyond you. And in those blissful states, oftentimes you will have tears rolling down your cheeks or cry intensely out of sheer joy and happiness. Many times not even knowing why you are crying. And these can last for hours and days and sometimes even months on end. We might call them as heart orgasms. Incredibly powerful. You may even begin to experience or see, hear things with your heart. You may even see the entire universe within your heart. You may see a tiny speck of brilliant white light, a tiny little dot, which is your soul. In Tantra, when we deeply inhale, the place where our breathing stops, this place is what we call as Hridaya. That is our spiritual heart. That is the center of our being. When this Hridaya opens up, it's an incredibly powerful experience of the divine, of consciousness. That is very difficult to explain in words. You may even experience white wings coming out from your heart and spreading outside. And many times you are this bird with these wings flapping that rises up and goes all the way to experience the source. This heart opening is often accompanied by an incredible shift in energy where you will suddenly notice that birds and animals of all kinds, children, people, slowly begin to gravitate and get attracted to your energy because they want to be within this energetic field. And oftentimes you may have extrasensory perceptions or paranormal experiences during this time as well. You may be able to connect with other souls that have passed away or other entities as well, other higher beings as well. Then the Kundalini energy gradually rises up and pierces your throat chakra. And when that begins to happen, you will always live by your own authentic truth and self. Nothing superficial. You will stand and you will talk your truth. Gently, politely, lovingly. People will automatically get attracted to whatever you have to say. There is an incredible power in your voice. And you will increasingly begin to talk more and more about consciousness, about God, about spiritual stuff. You'll try and avoid gossip, negativity. You will run away from them actually. You will lead a truthful, authentic, honest life. Being your true self. Finally comes the third sphere. This is where once more matter becomes energy. This sphere is what we call as Shiva. This is dissolution. This is where you begin to exist as being, as consciousness, as awareness. This is the state which we experience when we are in samadhi, where even if we are within our mind and body, we are actually in a transcendental state of awareness. In Tantra, we say that the Kundalini essentially rises up to the throat chakra, or Shakti comes to meet Shiva all the way up to the throat chakra. But beyond that, the rise of the Kundalini needs the grace of the divine, or for Shiva to descend and help Shakti to rise up in this last stretch, so that there is the union of Shiva and Shakti, the dissolution, the completion of this journey. So, the rise of the Kundalini beyond the throat chakra requires grace to flow in from above downwards. And we say that Kali resides here. With her sword and with her scimitar, she's the one that chops off your head, so that eventually Shiva and Shakti can merge. Very powerful. I will end today's video with a very short quote, which is one of my favorite. We say that the longest journey that we ever make is the 14 inches from our head to our heart. Herein lies the key. And this is the space that we say holds heaven and earth together. Everything is here. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment. If you have any questions, drop it in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you. Thank you so much for listening in. Namaste and bye-bye.